Hello everybody, my name is Star Raptor and I'm super excited to bring you guys another episode of This Week in Star Wars Canon. So what's canon, you may ask? Well, it's anything that ties back into those movies that we all know and love. This could be a TV series like Rebels or Clone Wars. We could have the novels, the comics, and the video games. This week we had both Star Wars number 29 as well as a new episode of Rebels. So let's start by talking about Star Wars Rebels. This is Season 3, Episode 16, titled Through Imperial Eyes. This is the very Imperial heavy episode, and I'm going to just recap quickly what happened in this episode. So we pick up with Agent Kallus, who, as we know, he is basically the double agent for the rebellion, and he has been helping the rebels out as Fulcrum. He's been on the inside of the Empire. He's basically giving out little tidbits of information for the rebels to stay one step ahead of the Empire. But what happens in this episode is Ezra goes undercover to go and tell Kallus in person that they have to get him out of there. It seems like the Empire is kind of sniffing their nose in the right direction of Kallus, so the rebels basically want to extract him. So this episode is about that. It's about Kallus trying to get out of the way, and what happens is we have characters such as Grand Admiral Thrawn, as well as the return of Wolf Yularen. Yes, that character from Clone Wars. These guys are investigating. So by the end of the episode, what happens is Ezra and the rebels, they try to get Kallus out, and Kallus decides, hey, I'm going to actually stick with the Imperials, because he kind of spun it around that he wasn't a traitor, but he basically made some petty officer the traitor. But what happens is Thrawn, still at the end of this episode, he has confirmed that Kallus is indeed the mole. He is the secret agent, but he's actually going to play double agent, and Thrawn is going to say, well, I'm going to use him for the Empire, so maybe we'll get more information on the rebel base that he's been trying to find all season. So that's basically what happened in a nutshell of Star Wars Rebels this week, and I really love this episode. This is one of the best. They've been on a roll ever since they got back from the hiatus. Rebels has been kicking some serious ass with making meaningful episodes that play out larger in the Star Wars universe. So some specifics of things that I really enjoyed about this episode. First off, I really liked seeing the Empire from another point of view. We had that awesome first-person introduction to the episode of Kallus waking up in his sleeping quarters, and he's walking around washing his face. That was really interesting. We've never seen anything like that in even Clone Wars, I don't think. So really cool. Also, I briefly mentioned Wolf Yularen. Now this is very cool for me, because I'm actually currently watching the Clone Wars animated series for like the third time. And of course, Wolf Yularen is the commander of Anakin Skywalker's, his fleet, his forces. So seeing him, and he's being voiced by the same voice actor as Tom Kane. So very cool continuity. Something else I really did like was that there was a different sense of being on the Chimera, on Thrawn's Star Destroyer. You see, for instance, you have everybody wearing these special patches, and I thought that could have meant something else in the trailer when they showed the droids with those patches. Maybe there was some kind of pirate force or something, but no, it seems like Thrawn, he has a different kind of, I don't know, emblem that he likes to share on all his personal people on his ship. That's something very interesting. Speaking of Thrawn, I really did enjoy how we actually got to see a physical, the physical abilities of Thrawn. I mean, throughout this entire season, he's been very cerebral. He is like the Sherlock of the Star Wars universe. Mentally, he is always a step ahead of everybody. But now we get to see him fighting off those droids, wielding a blaster. Like, this guy means serious business. And I thought the overall episode, there were so many parts where I thought it was going to go this way, and it went the complete opposite way, like especially with Kallus actually not getting away. I thought Kallus might die in this episode, or he might get away with the rebels. I didn't see him sticking around on that Star Destroyer though, and just the fact that Thrawn was actually going to play him and basically use him for himself now it's super interesting. But I think this episode again was great, awesome step in the right direction. Next week we're gonna have more of a rebel-focused episode with, looks like, Mon Mothma, and we might be going to Dantooine after all this time. So I can't wait for that. But I want to know what you guys thought of this week's episode of Star Wars Rebels. Please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. And as I said earlier, we also did have Star Wars number 29. This is part 4 of Yoda's Secret War. So what's going on in Star Wars comics right now? So basically, this is Yoda's story. He has gone to this planet with these children. He has learned that they adopted a new kind of power where they are able to wield these stones, and he's calling it the stone power. And at first, Yoda can't actually interact with the Force using these things. He's powerless against these things, but he is actually forced to go into this mountain, this cave, and there he finds this young boy named Garo who actually is able to teach Yoda how to use these stones, the stone power, and in return, Yoda becomes the pupil of this young child, so it flips out. Over Yoda's always the master. Now we fast forward into what's happening in issue number 29 here, and we have Yoda and Garo. They awaken this mountain, so what they think is the heart of the mountain, which he was sent in there to retrieve by the rock hawkers or whoever these people, the little kids that are, very militaristic. He is sent in there. They find out the heart of the stone is actually a mountain. So basically what happened on this planet is you had at one point nothing but these big stone mountain type creatures, and then the people, I guess, colonized that planet and scared the mountains and started harvesting the stone, which is very valuable, and one by one these stone beings started being extinct, and now there's just one left, and that's where Yoda finds the one he's with Garo. So basically what happens now is Yoda goes back outside with Garo, and Garo basically defects and changes sides. He goes back with his militaristic Rawhawker group and kind of condemns Yoda just to suffer, and they go on their own way. And then Yoda goes back to the benevolent type group of kids, and what happens is when he's communing with them, the stone people, they kind of, the one guy kind of comes alive. He comes alive, and it's all because of the militaristic group that basically they use their power. The Garo kid basically teaches them the ways of kind of using the dark side to bring this being up out of the ground. So it is up to Yoda to basically take out this towering rock creature. And then at the same time, or fast forward quite a few years, we have Luke Skywalker that goes back to this planet and he finds the big stone giant, and he also finds Garo there like 50 years later, and Garo is saying that he wants to finish his war, and that's kind of where the issue ends. So I'm going to get into my positives of issue number 29 of Star Wars. So first off, I really like the idea that Yoda is, always the benevolent kind of being. He, rather than destroy the heart of the mountain, destroy this mountain being, he rather try to preserve life. He rather try to resurrect this creature, and unfortunately when he resurrects it, now the bad people, the Rawhawkers, the bad militaristic group, they have control of it. I really did like seeing Yoda in that teaching role again. Like I said, he went back to the benevolent type people, and he basically was teaching them the stone power and how to harness it better, and it's just something that we always see Yoda doing in the prequels, teaching the younglings. So right at home with that. Also, I just like the idea that Yoda, being one of the smallest creatures in the galaxy, is forced to take on this gigantic mountain of a being, and that's kind of where it leaves us off on a cliffhanger, and that to me is just so cool. And speaking of that cliffhanger, I want to talk about the one again with Luke and Garo. Now, this is interesting to me because on that next cover, it shows that Garo is versing Luke Skywalker in a lightsaber duel. Rather or not, that actually happens. Sometimes the covers can be misleading, but I find that very interesting how Luke is finding another being that actually has, I don't know if you can call it force sensitivity, but he has some kind of telepathic connections to the rocks there, so he kind of is like a force sensitive. So what is Luke going to come away with the knowledge of finding a being like this? It's going to be very interesting nonetheless. But I want to know what you guys thought of Star Wars number 29, so please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. If you haven't subscribed to my channel already, please consider doing so. I have a lot of Star Wars content, guys. Speaking of which, we've just had the release of Star Wars Empire's End. This is the last book of Chuck Wendig's Aftermath trilogy. I already have my non-spoiler review as well as a spoiler-filled recap. If you don't want to read the book, you can go ahead, watch that video, and you'll learn the major points of that book. So guys, please make sure to subscribe to me, like, comment as always, and you can also follow me on social media. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at StarRaptor. I want to thank you guys for watching. I'm StarRaptor, and may the Force be with you always. So, did you like the video? Then make sure you rate it a thumbs up, and if you did that, go over there, hit that StarRaptor head to subscribe to my channel. Doing so will keep you up to speed on all of my latest content. Speaking of which, you can see a couple of my recent uploads down below. I'm also on social media, so what are you waiting for? Let's start nerding out.